You don't want to have $1 million business, but you're only making $50,000 to $100,000 in net profit. I would much rather have $600,000 to $700,000 business, but I have a net profit of, $250,000 to $350,000 to run a very lean and efficient business. My name is Sharad. I am the owner and founder of REsimpli. A little background about myself. I live in Carlsbad, California, north of San Diego, about 45 minutes north of San Diego. And I do my investing all in Northwest Indiana, right outside of Chicago. For anybody who's not familiar, it's like practically a suburb of Chicago, 30 to 45 minutes outside of downtown Chicago. I used to live in downtown Chicago. That's why I picked the market. And I've done over 700 deals. I bought my first property in August of 2010. And I did a bunch of really cool stuff with overseas investors, US investors from 2012 through 14, primarily selling properties to overseas investors. And now I'm doing, I would say about 50-50 right now, given where the market is. 50% retail flip, 50% turnkey property, selling to other investors as a rental property. And I also own a property management company, and I buy 50 rental units that I own free and clear. And then property management company that I own, we manage about 200 units between my units and for other investors that I have. So that's a little bit background about myself and my team. Right now, we're doing about, let's say about 25 to 30 flips a year. We're not really wholesaling. We're doing direct to seller marketing, but we close on every single property. We rehab them and then we sell them. We don't really do any wholesale. And my team is, I live in Carlsbad, California. My project manager that's managing all our projects, our average project is about $45,000 to $50,000. So these are pretty big rehab. She lives an hour north of me in Temecula, and my lead manager / acquisition manager lives in Philippines. So we don't have any local person in Indiana. Only the contractors are in Indiana, and my project manager, she uses like an assistant that she pays by the project just to go keep an eye on the properties, but that's on her. She's not part of our payroll. She takes care of that. But that's a little bit background about kind of my business, my company. So very remote, very virtual. For me, given where I am in my business doing 25, 30 flips, I spend maybe 10, 15 minutes a day in my business. Most of it is I do a huddle in the morning with my project manager and my acquisition manager, project manager Claudia, and acquisition manager Jay, just to go over stuff, what's going on, any update on a property. But everything else is pretty much managed through REsimpli. If there's any offers we're making, any stuff that's going on, we'll tag each other in comments and say, hey, can you check this out? We made an offer on a property yesterday for $130,000 that had been on an automated follow-up. The seller was shopping, and I told my acquisition, hey, just retract that offer. We don't want to play these games. When the seller is ready to make a decision, then we'll submit our offer. So that's a little bit background about my business. If you have any questions on kind of how I've set up, what I do, what not, we can definitely connect offline on that. Today's call, I wanted to make about, why it's really, really important to manage your finances properly, because that will make your business much, much, much more efficient if you're managing based on the numbers rather than making based on, your gut feeling that you have about the business. So when I started REsimpli, there were a couple of things that were very important, that it had to be simple to use, it had to be an all-in-one software, and it had to have good KPIs. So that's why I used to be an accountant. I was a CPA working for one of the largest accounting firms in the country. That's why, the accounting part is it's a big influence in how we created REsimpli. So I wanted to go over that and just talk to you guys about, why it's important, how to track that within REsimpli, and we can answer any questions you guys have. All right. So at a minimum, I would say, so we have a very, very detailed KPI dashboard that we built out. This is a demo account, so just don't pay attention to the numbers. So at a minimum, I would say a couple of things are very important to track. One would be your marketing number. As you get into real estate investing or you scale your business, you will realize that generally speaking, for the most part, in a real estate investing business, marketing would be one of the biggest expenses you have on your P&L. So it'll either be your marketing or payroll. I would say generally marketing, then payroll, but it'll be one of the top two expenses that you have. So really, really important that you're tracking your marketing in your business. And the most important number that, in my opinion, that you really should be tracking and know for every single marketing channel that you have is your ROI. So ROI is for every dollar that you put in your marketing, how much money you're making. So for example, let's say if you're doing PPC and direct mail. So I'm going to use that. Those are my two primary marketing channels that I use. So I'm going to use PPC and direct mail as an example. So if I'm putting, let's say if I'm not tracking my numbers at the marketing lead source or campaign level, what I might do is I might spend, let's say, $10,000 between direct mail and PPC combined. I don't have the breakdown. Let's just say it's total 10,000, and I make 50,000 from it. I'm like, this is fantastic. I spent 10,000, I made 50,000. But where it becomes really important is, you need to know, did you make that money from direct mail or PPC? Did you spend out of that 10,000? Did you spend 8,000 on direct mail and made $0, and you only spent 2,000 on PPC and actually made that $50,000? So that's why tracking your marketing at different lead source and within lead source, different campaign level becomes very, very important. We make our decisions on which marketing channel we need to double down on, which one we need to cut back on based on our KPIs number that we have. I mean, cost per lead and cost per deal are important to look at, but at the end of the day, the most important number is ROI. You could have an amazing cost of lead, but if you're not getting any deal out of it, then the cost per lead number doesn't really mean anything. And you could have a cost per deal of $10,000 to get one deal, but if you're making ROI of $10, every dollar you're putting in, you're making $10, but then cost of lead, cost per deal, it really doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's the most important number is ROI, right? So if you look at the extreme example, let's say your cost per deal is $500, and you're like, hey, I have the lowest cost per deal, but your ROI is only $2, right? For every dollar that you put in, you only make $2. What's the point of having a low cost of deal when your ROI is not good? So at the end of the day, everything that you're tracking, you want to make sure that you're driving this number as high as you possibly can. That is going to give you the highest return on investment. And if you can gain efficiency in your ROI, all of that number, all of that efficiency is going to go directly into your net profit. So going back to the example of, you spend $10,000 between direct mail and PPC, you spend 8,000 direct mail and 2,000 PPC. Now, let's say you did not spend 8,000. You're like, hey, PPC is the only marketing I'm doing. That 8,000 that you saved, it goes directly into your net profit. So that's the power of having really good tracking, especially ROI looking at that. And then within that marketing channel, let's just say, you're doing direct mail. Within direct mail, you want to start looking at different campaigns that you're doing in your business. Let me do this. Different campaigns that you're doing. So if you're doing direct mail probate versus direct mail absentee, again, going back to the example of, let's say you spend 5,000 and you use the same tracking number for marketing to probate and absentee, and then you get a bunch of calls, you get a deal out of it. You're like, hey, this is great. I spent $5,000. I made 25 on it. I make 5x on my money. But again, the question is, did you make money on your probate list or your absentee list? That's where you want to start tracking them differently. Is it your probate list that's actually working really well, or is it your absentee list that's working well? So you want to start looking at the numbers. I would not make the decision based on one marketing campaign that you do. You want to at least give it at least 4 to 6 mailing campaigns or over 6 months period of time just to be able to make that decision. And you'll start noticing a trend. Hey, it's really my absentee list that's crushing it, or it's my probate list that's crushing it. You will start realizing that one of the marketing channel is giving you higher ROI than the other. And then you can make a decision, hey, is it worth investing in both of them? Or should I just double down on one and cut back the other one? At a minimum, I would say you want to see minimum 3x on your ROI. So every dollar that you're putting into your business, you want to see in marketing dollars, you want to see minimum 3x. So if you're spending $5,000 in direct mail or any marketing, you want to see minimum 15,000 come back into your business. If it's anything less than 3x, then I would seriously consider cutting that out and looking at a different marketing channel, right? So that's another thing. And then, and we can go into how to track these numbers. So what you want to do is there's a couple of different ways to do that within REsimpli. You can link up your bank account. I'm an accountant, so I have everything linked up in my account. Or you could just do add a manual bank account and then track it that way. So I'm just going to use this. So let me see, this is linked. I'm going to use a manual bank account for this example. Let me go into KPI so I can show you in real time what that looks like. All right. So I have in my direct mail, I have $4,000 in probate, 6,000 in other, and then you can see, my ROI is different. If I just looked at a blended ROI, it shows me $13.67 for my direct mail. But when I, double click on it and I see my probate is actually giving me $8.75, and my other list that I'm marketing to is giving me $16.95. So now let's say if I had one additional dollar to invest, any additional dollar that I've invested in marketing, I would definitely want to look into my other marketing channel before I look into the probate. So I want to make sure that this I'm fully optimizing, because this is giving me a higher ROI on my marketing dollars than the other one. So I want to make sure I keep, investing more into it until, you'll reach a saturation point where this will start coming down. And once it starts coming down to, the average of 13, that's when you want to start looking, hey, does it make sense to add another marketing channel into my mix, or keep optimizing the existing ones that I have? All right, so it's super easy to track. Let's say if I'm going to add a transaction, and if you have your bank account linked, it pulls most of the data automatically. So let's say if I spend $2,000 and this is money out, let's say this was online, and when you're adding your marketing business for property address, you want to select general business because it's not attached to a specific property. It's part of your general business that you're running. And then in the account, you want to select direct mail because I'm putting this expense towards direct mail. And then in the campaigns, you're going to see all the campaigns that you have running in your business. If you don't select any campaign, it's going to go to other as default. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do direct mail marketing. And I highly recommend that you attach any receipts or invoices that you have. I've gone through an IRS audit. It's a very painful process, but I had all my documents and everything attached with my transaction. So made it super simple. So it's very easy process. Just click attach, and any invoices, documents that you have, attach it with that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you kind of what it does in KPI. So you see I have 4,000, 6,000, total 10,000 that I've spent. So once I click on add and I go back and refresh my numbers, it's going to get updated. So this went up to 12,000, right? And then this went up to 8,000 from 6,000, and my ROI came down. So as you're putting more money into marketing, this is getting updated in real time. And then all your numbers, cost per lead, cost per deal, and especially ROI would also get updated in real time. And as you make any money on a property, your revenue number would also get updated. Let me just look at and property as an example. Let's see, direct mail. All right, so this one, let me see one if I can find in the other campaign. Otherwise, I'll just use this. I'll just use this as an example, 1038 Nor Revere in Mesa. All right, so I go back. So when you're adding your revenue numbers, you want to go into your banking, go into your test account or the account that you have linked. And in this case, it would be, let's say I got a check from a title company for $50,000. This was money in, and this would be 1038 North Revere. And then account would be, your wholesale fee, fix and flip profit, or whatever it was. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. And then when I go back into my, this was higher. All right, so once I go back, so I have a total revenue of 136,000. So once I refresh, this should go up by 15,000. Yeah, so it went up to 151,000. And I put my revenue in 1038 Nord Revere, which is my direct mail probate list. So the revenue automatically went into my probate list against my probate list. So I don't have to go back and map. And now if you look at my ROI, it's pretty even. roughly about $12.50 on probate, $12.50 on other, and so blended average of $12.64. So this is where when you're making your decision in your business, let's say you have another $5,000 that you want to put into marketing. Now your ROI is pretty similar on both of them. Then you want to look at, okay, which marketing has given me more deals? So I've got 9 deals from my probate list versus just 1 from my other. So I would want to put more money into my probate list because I have higher chance of getting a deal from my probate list versus getting it from my other marketing list that I have. And I have very similar ROI in both of them. So before I move forward, any questions on this that you guys have? Derek has a question just related. I don't know if you mentioned this, but I cannot enter an amount here in money spent. Where does this information fill in from? So Derek, the information comes from the banking section. So you would go into banking. So if you go back to the recording of this, you'll be able to see where the numbers are coming in from. Yeah, and Rodney, same thing. The numbers are, you can either manually input through the banking system, or if you have your bank account linked, then it'll just pull everything from directly from your bank, and then it just makes it super simple to link up your transaction. Let me see if I have a bank account linked in one right here. I don't think I have one linked in my test account. Let me see this one. All right, yeah. So this is what it would look like if you had it linked. It would just pull everything. So you're not having to put date, you're not having to put amount. You just select the vendor. Let's say I'm going to do ABC marketing online, and I just do property would be, and then as you input this information, it would start recognizing the transaction, and it would input automatically. It would just recognize the transaction for the following one. Let's say I'm going to do probate. I do this, and it would just update my KPIs, and it notices and moves all of these over to recognize based on the transaction memo that you have. So now I can do is I can just select, let's say these, and I can confirm, and they would just move over to my transaction. Once I refresh, it's all of that. It's going to get updated in my KPIs right here. So all of this got updated to probate list or other whatever I selected, and my ROI also got updated. Okay. Derek, you can link up your bank accounts, you can link up your credit card. So I have everything. I haven't used QuickBooks in over 2 or 3 years. So I do my full accounting, bookkeeping, all within REsimpli. My bookkeeper, she goes in, she's updating the books once a week. I'll just go and review my numbers. But my bank account, my line of credit, my credit card, everything is linked within the system we use Plaid on the back end. So it just pulls all the data just like it would pull in QuickBooks. And we have some pretty neat reporting that are built specifically for real estate investors. So if you look at our income statement, it's built very specifically for real estate investing business. You can see it pulls your data. It creates reports based on different, revenue or different expenses that you have, different marketing type. So if I do, that's a custom. So if you do that, this is what your P&L would look like. It tells you, okay, what percentage of your revenue is coming from fix and flip versus wholesale, your expenses, based on different categories that you have, and what is your net profit ratio. This is another thing you want to keep in mind is a lot of investors generally tend to focus on the top line number that, hey, I want to have, 7-figure business. I want to have $1 million in revenue, which is great, but it should not come at the expense of your net income. You don't want to have $1 million business, but you're only making $50,000 to $100,000 in net profit. I would much rather have $600,000-$700,000 business, but I have a net profit of $250,000 to $350,000 to run a very lean and efficient business that I have. So that's what I do in my business. We focus very much on our efficiency. My net profit should be very high. Each deal that we're looking at, like how much money we're spending overall in the business, how much money we're spending on the marketing, because I want to focus on the net profit. That's the number I get to keep at the end of the day after everything, all the expenses, everything is paid for within my business, marketing, payroll, and everything is paid for. And Rodney I apologize if I missed something. Do you have a separate account for each marketing channel? How does it know which transaction goes to? Rodney, great question. You don't have a separate you don't need a separate bank account for each marketing channel. I don't know by account if you mean like account right here, Or you mean like a bank account? If you mean this account, we already have pre-built accounts. So if I typed in cold calling, it would pull up cold calling. No bank account. No, we just need, at least for me, I have one bank account, one credit card that we run everything through, and I have one line of credit. So it's very, very simple. Actually, I'd say I have two bank accounts. One is our primary bank account, and then I have a bank account set up for my project manager where I move money once a week to that account, and she pays all the contractors out of that. But no, it's just think of it, all your money is going out of one bank account. You're just going in and you're telling the system, hey, I paid money for this property, or I paid money for this marketing channel that I had. So that's all you're doing, and the system would update uh, the KPIs. The REsimpli would update your KPIs throughout the system. So this way, based on one bank account where all the money is coming. So all the money transactions that are happening will be pulled in, and then you just updating. Think of it like updating an Excel sheet. It's super, super simple to do that, and it gives you really detailed KPIs in your business. And then, you're tracking your marketing at a minimum, I would say everyone should be tracking their marketing numbers and their revenue numbers absolutely at a minimum. So you can get a sense of your KPIs that you have. This, I would say, if you're looking at this and you're optimizing this, you're going to have such a huge advantage over any other investor in your market, because you would be able to make decisions based on the data that you have in your business. You're going to go in and make decisions based on, hey, this is the direct mail channel that I'm doing between probate and absentee. I can see that probate is absolutely crushing it for me, so I'm going to put more money into probate. And now imagine you're going into another market, and then you don't have to guess which marketing channel you should go with. Should you go with probate or should you go with absentee? Based on the data that you have, you could go with probate. Or even in the existing market that you have, if you were adding another marketing channel, let's say you're going from direct mail, you want to start adding cold calling. You already have the data to prove that probate is performing really well in direct mail. Then you would want to start out with cold calling. If you have limited budget to the probate list, just stack, your marketing dollars towards the probate list that's already working well for direct mail, and then put the cold calling money towards your probate list. And then as you start generating revenue from that, then you can look at the next best marketing channel that's working in your business at that point. And then I want to share this with you guys. We were offering this service to just a few handful of investors just to build our SOPs on the back end, but now we started to offer it to all the investors that are using REsimpli. So we could get your full bookkeeping done, everything done on a weekly basis. We're going in, updating your accounts, all the invoices and everything that you have, we're attaching it to your transactions that you have. So your KPIs, every single transaction that you have, your P&L, balance sheet, everything is updated, everything is recognized. So at the end of the year, you have your reports ready to present to your accountant to file your taxes. So if you guys are interested, we have this link, resimpli.com/bookkeeping. I'm going to put it in the chat. If you want to learn more about this, you can connect with us. And if you would rather have, I know we've had a couple of investors that we just started this week or last week. They're switching over from QuickBooks to REsimpli, and they just want to, kind of do both in parallel. So we also have that option. If you want us to keep your books both within REsimpli and QuickBooks, while you transition over, we can definitely do that also. So if you reach out to us, we can definitely help you with that. So you get very, very detailed reporting with this. We create some custom reporting, which is actually going to be coming in REsimpli this month. So you'll start seeing your P&L by property, P&L by month, and P&L by vendor. Those three reports are being added to REsimpli list of reporting in next couple of weeks. We're testing it out right now on our end, and then that should be added. So if you have any questions and would like to have your books be done, keep updated, on the bookkeeping side, let us know, and then we can connect you with our team and they can help you with this. All right. Any other questions you guys have on this bookkeeping side, financial side, or anything else that you have? Hey, Brian.
All right. Hey, so Sharad, so I love the presentation on the numbers. Basically where I'm at, if I can, is so I'm getting ready to really grind into the new year. I'm really going to start working hard to pull lists. I really want to move my business. I'm really focusing on getting some cold calling done. as far as cold calling is concerned, I'm just trying to get an idea on my KPIs. How many obviously within reason. I mean, what do I need to be thinking about? How many calls do I need to be making? How many calls should I potentially have other cold callers be making? What's the type of KPIs or contacts for cold calling?
I mean,
I guess is what I'm
that's a
looking for.
broad question, Brian. That would depend a
Yeah.
lot on the list, right? If you start out with, let's say, a list of homeowners with equity, right? Then that is going to need a lot more calls versus if you start out with absentee vacant, for example, versus if you start out with probate. Okay. So if you're not sure where to start, I would say start with absentee in your market. And if it's a huge list, let's say if you have more than 10,000 people on your absentee, then I would add a filter of vacant. That would get your list down to about 1,000 to 2,000. But that's what I would start with. So especially when you're starting out, I would go after the niche list, and then absentee generally tends to be a good list to start with. I would not stack it too much if you don't have too many records. Because absentee, if you look at, I would generally start with absentee that has 30% more equity plus unknown equity, 5 years of ownership with unknown ownership, because then it would include all the other like pain points that they have. If they're
Yeah.
behind on taxes. So somebody could be behind on taxes, somebody could be behind on, their mortgage, but if they do not have any equity, then there's no point negotiating with them. At least we don't do
Okay.
any short sales. So that's, if you're just absolutely like, hey, I'm open to starting with anything, I would start with an absentee list with the filters that I gave you.
Okay. So the biggest thing to reflect on is don't worry so much about making. I mean, obviously make as many calls as you can, but the name of the game is really to stack and to niche out the list. Look for those individuals who have multiple pain points.
Correct. But if you start out with absentee, with equity and 5 years of ownership, that's a good list to start with. Again, depending on the market, if you get like 5 to 7,000 people, that's a good list. Don't focus on, using a triple line dialer, calling 1,000 people, because
Mhm.
like the triple line dialer is good if you have like tens of thousands of people that you're calling, right? If you have like, small list, I mean, by small list, I mean like 10, 15, 20,000 list, and then you don't have like a time constraint that I have to call these people in a certain amount of time, and then you're constantly getting new lists, then single line dialer is going to give you better connectivity than triple line dialer. So the way triple line dialer works is that it's going to call three people at the same time. You just think of it, you're sitting in a conference room, three calls go out from the system. Whoever picks up, they're going to hear a 2 second delay. 99% of the time, they'll just hang up,
Because they heard the
right?
delay.
They heard, I mean, I get calls like this immediately, I hang up. I don't even take it any further
Because they heard the
because there's a
delay.
delay. But that's $999 is great if you have like huge list that you have to call through. Then you're focusing on quantity of calls over quality, because you're
Mhm.
constantly getting new leads that you are calling, and then it's just going to be a never ending process if you don't call them through a triple line dial. If you have a set list of people that you're calling through with the single line dialer, you're just calling one on one. You're hearing the phone ring, someone picks up, you're already on the call. There's absolutely no delay, right?
Okay.
And then I would focus on just quality of calls over quantity.
Mhm.
Come up with, I mean, we have a script that's built out of the gate, which is pretty good. So you can use this, you can tweak it to your needs, making an appointment or making an offer. You could tweak it to your need, but start out with that, talk to a couple of people, there'll be a couple of questions. They're like, it doesn't feel right. I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to tweak that. Just build the process out, make your cold calling process, something, if you're starting out, bring the process to the point where you can hand it over to someone and they can just follow step by step on exactly what they need to do. And then you have exactly a script built out, and then you can customize it. You say, okay, talk to an owner like this, ask these questions, if they say this, ask them that. If they don't say this, make sure you cover these points. That's what I would focus on. Again, quality over quantity when you're starting out. And then as you scale, then you can just focus on like cranking out, a bunch of different lists that you have.
Okay. And again, the theory is, once we're comfortable, obviously using a VA, and helping those VA help make us calls is obviously what we want to aim for. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, obviously to start off the initial journey, I mean, obviously us making those calls by ourselves is,
Right.
just how it works. But I mean, I'm assuming you have multiple VAs making calls for you, perhaps, Sharad.
I don't do any cold calling. We do pretty
So,
much all inbound marketing. We don't really do
and
any outbound. It just I don't know. I personally don't. I'm not a huge fan of outbound marketing. That's just me. So we do a lot
okay,
of inbound PPC, pay per lead, direct mail. You could say it's inbound slash outbound. So that's
okay,
kind of what we focus on. But
okay,
one thing I would say, whether and this applies to everyone, whether you're doing cold calling or whether you have someone on your team making calls here, please make sure you listen to the call recordings every day. Listen to a couple of call recordings. It's super easy. You can go to the app, just click on recording button. It's just going to give you so much visibility into how your team members are talking to the sellers. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe my team member would ask this question. Or you might be like, oh my God, I can't believe my team member did not ask this follow-up question. That those things are very, very important, because once you've created a process, then how do you keep tweaking it? Just like with the marketing, right? What we just talked about with the marketing, it's about keep optimizing the KPIs that you have. It's the same thing that applies in, every other aspect of your business. So, just this morning, I have a VA. He's doing really good. We just hired him at the beginning of the year. I just went into the app, listened to a couple of his call recordings. One where he was talking to an agent, another one where he was talking to a seller, just to see that, hey, is he following the process? Is he asking the right question? Is there any opportunity for me to train him, on some situation that he could be handling better? Especially if you have someone that's based overseas, they may not be comfortable with the culture of the local country. So you want to like train them a little bit about, hey, when someone says this, make sure you follow up with this. So that's where you want to have some training opportunities for your team.
okay, wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, focus on quality over quantity. And then when you're cold calling, if you pull a list of absentee, uh, make sure you track your KPIs. Where are you getting better response? If you're getting better response on your absentee, just your pure absentee vacant or pure absentee non-vacant. And also if you have the data of how many properties each of the absentee owner owns, then you can tag that, and you can get really detailed in tracking within REsimpli your KPIs by tags. So if you add a bunch of different tags, then you can see how each of the tag is performing. You can track your KPIs based on the tag. How many leads did I assign to that tag, and how many of those converted into offers, how many of those converted into contracts and deals? So that's where you can say, if you look at just your absentee list, right? You might be like, hey, my absentee is performing really well, but within absentee, there might be certain groups of sellers that you have that are performing better than the other. For example, absentee owners that are over 50 or 60 years of age, absentee owners with like 2 or 3 properties versus, absentee owners that have 50 properties. Generally, they will tend to be a little bit more sophisticated if they're more than like 5-10 property. So that's where, if you can segment your list into different, different tags, different lists that you have, that's where you get more insight into your marketing.
Okay.
The goal is to make the highest revenue you can by spending the least amount of money on marketing possible, right? You don't
Okay.
want to you don't want to pound your chest and say, hey, I spend $100,000 on marketing every month. No, you want to say, I make $100,000 net profit by spending a couple of hours, a week, just managing my business, managing my process. So the goal is to get the ROI in your business, in your marketing, as high as you possibly can.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Yeah, great question. Any other question you guys have that I can answer? Cool. Sharad, can you provide some insight on how best a multifamily investor can use the system? I'm not sure everyone using REsimpli is single family residential investor. I'm new to REsimpli and focus on small multifamily only. So before I get too deep, I wanted to make sure it will work for you. I do some multifamily, Rodney, depending on the size. I actually have a 11 unit under contract right now, that, we're negotiating. We had an inspection period, so we're in the due diligence stage right now. And then I'm looking at a couple of more 6-unit properties. I would use it the same way. Generally, depending on the size of the multifamily that you have, the fundamentals are the same. But instead of, you reaching out, if you have a list of owners that own single family or absentee list of single family investors, you could send them a postcard. That may be fine. Yeah. So 5 to 50 unit, I would use, direct mail. I would not do postcards. I mean, again, if you can segment it to 5 to 10 units, that's different. Versus 10 to 50 units might be a little bit, I would say a little slightly more sophisticated investors. So I would look at direct mail. If you can do, you can try a couple of different things. You can do handwritten letters, and then you can do your professional corporate letters with your business logo and see which one performs better. Couple of other creative things that I've seen other investors do is, if there is an absolutely a property that you're super, super interested in, like, hey, I can't seem to get hold of this person, I've called them, I've texted them, but you have the mailing address, I would send them like, a FedEx package, right? With your offer, with your letter of intent. That generally, nobody is going to receive a FedEx package and not open it. So that's how you get a little bit more attention on like doing some creative things, right? But if you have a list of, and Rodney, how big is your list of investors in your 5 to 50 units that you have? If you give me an idea about the list that you have, that'll depend on your kind of marketing that you can do. But if you have less than, let's say, 500 to 1,000 people on your list, I would not do the cheap postcards. Yeah, 1,600. So yeah, I would do either, I would not do postcards to this list. I would do a letter. You could do a handwritten letter if you want, or like handwritten font. I mean, you could do that, or you could do a corporate letter. But if there's like couple of properties like, man, these are absolutely my dream properties, I would love to talk to the sellers about this, then send them like a FedEx or UPS or like USPS, priority email. Like that is 100% going to get open. Yeah. So if you're not sure, I would start out with business letter, put your logo, make it like nice, professional. And then if you have a, I know you have a website, so guide them back to the website if you want to do that. So yeah, that's what I would start out with. I would not do like cheap postcards to multifamily investors. But again, the idea is the same. You want to keep, yeah, you can use your own letter. We have like direct mail built in. We have a bunch of different templates, but if you want to use your own letter, we can definitely customize it for you. So there's no issue with that. Again, I would do the same thing, Rodney, on this. Yeah, I would make sure you track your KPIs on, if you want to do it by different letters that you have, you could do that. But if they're all business letter, but if you can, segment your list of 1,600 into a couple of different groups, depending on whatever, data that you have, it could be, whether these properties are owned in an LLC or whether they're owned by individual, whether they're owned by husband and wife, then you could like, use different tracking number. Yeah. Sorry, what's different MSA? Oh, they're not from the same. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, if they're from the different area, then you immediately know, like, you don't have to use different tracking. Yeah, I mean, I guess you would want to use a local area code number, but within, let's just say for this example, you have 800 people from Chicago, 800 from New York. For each of the list, there might be some other variables that you can notice for that list. So let's say Atlanta, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. So let's say even that, let's say you have 400. So even in that each group, you may notice some properties are owned in an LLC, some are owned in a trust, some are owned as individual. So you want to make sure that, are you getting better response from the properties that are owned in a corporate, a trust, or individual? So you want to start tracking at that level. The more detailed, the more granular you get with marketing, the better it will be. So let's say you do, all these 4 metros that you do, and then you find out that all the properties that you're buying are through, mom and pop owners, right? And then you're not getting any response from people that have properties in LLC or trust. Generally, everything else being equal, they generally tend to be more sophisticated. So now you may be able to, next time when you're marketing to them, instead of 1,600, you might only have 1,000 people that you're going after. And then even within that mom and pop owners, if you can figure out what their age is, how long did they own the property for, and just get some other variables on these owners so that you can get really deep and focus with what marketing channel, not just what marketing channel, but what specific, that variable is in your marketing list that's really performing well. And that gives you an edge. So instead of mailing to 1,600 people, you might realize, hey, you only have to mail to like 400 people, really, really niche list of people based on the data that you've looked at. And that's what you go after rather than going after a 1,600 a list of people. You go after 400 list of people because you have data to prove that these are the 400 most likely to buy or most likely to sell based on the data that I have in my area. But that's what I would do. So I agree with you. Like starting out with a business letter is the right way to go. And then, but you want to make sure you have a process also built on the back end, right? As you start getting your leads into the system, you want to make sure leads are just part of it, like how the lead is moving through your pipeline, like how many of those are actually qualified, how many appointments you're setting, how many offers you're making, how many contracts you're getting. So you just don't want to look at just the top line number of leads. You want to look at, okay, how are all your leads coming from these different properties that you have are progressing through the marketing channels that you have. Again, with your focus being on ROI at the end of the day, increasing that ROI. Your ROI would be different because you have, you're playing a long-term game. You might have to buy these properties, with cash or financing, and then you refi out, get some rental. But you still want to look at your ROI in the long term. Jose, the question is, Sharad, is there any in-depth training video for the website other than the one from previous master? I'm looking for help on branding customization. Or is there anyone you can recommend for a paid service on your team to help me out? Jose, if you explain me a little bit more about what specifically you're looking for, then I can, guide you accordingly. But if you go to right here and you search website, so you have this training that I did, or actually, Daniel and I did, where you can, it walks you through on how to customize your website. It's a WordPress website. Honestly, you can hire, any freelancer that's familiar with WordPress and they can fully customize your website. And then we just went live with 5 landing pages. So if you're doing PPC, I highly recommend using those landing pages that you have. But look at this training that we have on how to set up your website.
Sure, man. I was just looking to see if you could, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just looking to see if you could recommend anyone to basically customize it. I have all my branding ready to go and all that. So I just wanted to kind of do like maybe.
Are you just talking about like logos and colors?
Well, not even that. So I know you could do backlinks and kind of start, optimizing it for my market, landing pages per specific campaigns that you're running for direct mail. You know what I mean? So I kind of want to go into that route. I know they're 2 different things, but I'm looking for help with the website for all those things. So I was just wondering if you had anyone in mind that you could recommend to help out with that.
If you send an email to support@REsimpli, I can, we have some agencies that some of our other customers work with. Then we can recommend that. We have a company that we work with, we had a bunch of users that switched their website from Carrot to REsimpli. So we help them with the transition. But if you're building a new website, then if you send an email to support@REsimpli, we'll be able to connect you with someone. But if you have anyone that has some experience with WordPress, it's a website built on WordPress, super simple to edit. Again, anyone that has any experience in WordPress should be able to fully customize it for you.
Gotcha. And just say for like blogs and all that. So it basically, okay.
Yeah. So again, it's fully built on WordPress. So anybody, has some experience in WordPress, they will know exactly kind of where to go, what to update. Yeah, they can update blogs, pictures, videos, and everything. So the website can be fully customized. We have some users that have added their, BBB rating, Facebook and Zillow rating. So you can do all of that. With any one that has any experience working with a WordPress website. But if you send an email to support@REsimpli, we should be able to connect you with someone who's familiar with with REsimpli website based on like we have other users that have used a company, so we can just connect you with that company.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sharad, this is Derek. I got a question, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
So on the same note of websites, there's the main landing page website, right? You sent out an email last week that said something about there was like 5 different links on there, and there was supposed to be a call following it, but I never saw that call come through. So I just want to see if you could cover what that was supposed to be over. But then also there's like a buyer website, and I don't have that set up yet. I'm supposed to have a call to get that set up. Can you show an example of what that is or what purpose that one serves? My question of it is like, so for trying to dispo deals, do we have an option for that where we have this pre-made landing page that we can put our own properties on? Yeah, like this one here. Is that what the buyer's website should look like? Because I don't have that set up yet.
Yeah, so we offer 2 kind of websites. One would be your buyer website. I mean, one would be for motivated sellers. And this is my website. So this is what it looks like.
This is similar to what mine looks like.
And there's a couple of different templates. You can choose this or the other one. And then these are the landing pages. These are for specific purposes. If you're running a campaign, I would use it for PPC. So I have my agency that does my PPC testing out, these landing pages, but these are supposed to be simple single page landing pages. Someone goes on and they don't have a bunch of, so if you compare this, you have all these options up here, right? With landing page, the purpose is just keep it super simple.
Get them to fill it out.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a bunch of these that we built out. We just named them based on different cities. I don't do business in any of them, but yeah, we just named them different, different designs. So these would be used for your PPC primarily when you're doing, so to drive your traffic for PPC to these landing pages. And this would be more of your brand website, right? But both of these are this website and landing pages are geared towards motivated sellers, right? Now, the next part is
are you linking, hang on real quick. Are you linking so the main one that you have, is that one have like a linked backlink through to all of these other landing pages, where the landing page is in the one page, you fill it out, and then the next page that it goes to as a refresh goes back to your main page?
I mean, you could do that.
If somebody just completely separate.
If somebody clicked on the logo right here, it would take them to the main website. But then the purpose of landing page is to keep it very minimal, no option. Like when you come at this looks a little bit busy, but that's the purpose of the main website that you have. But landing page, super simple, just basically one option. They can click on any of this and they can click here and it's going to initiate a call. They can fill out this form and they can click right here. So all of this is clickable, where they can click to call, send email, do all of that. But just one purpose is to optimize for conversion.
Just call to action.
Right? Yeah. They don't have any information about us, none of that. Just, hey, come to this. They went to Google and said, sell my house fast, foreclosure. Then you would have a landing page for foreclosure, for example, right? It would drive them to that page. They'll fill out the information and then you get that information. Then you manage that from there. So this should definitely help your conversion on PPC compared to this. Okay.
Right.
The landing page.
That makes sense.
Now, once you get a property under contract, now you want to dispo it. We offer the buyer website also, which is included on all the accounts that we have. Okay. So you don't have to pay anything extra. It's included in every single account. And this is what
just to throw in on that note, I appreciate that. That wasn't initially clear to me. I've been using this system for over 2 months now. And didn't know that what it looks like or what its purpose was, availability, until like I saw that other email come through recently. So just feedback for you on people that are helping you set up your stuff, or you're promoting it, or what's being talked about. I didn't even know this was options. This would have been great to know a month ago.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, this is something we're working on our end. And we also made this live just to help people. And then you can see these are the main features that we want people to activate within REsimpli. So it's on every single account. If you click right here, it walks you through on, hey, have you activated this account? And it includes, SEO optimized website and a couple of other things that we want our users to, like, have you downloaded the app into your account and stuff like that. But yeah, we're definitely taken. But yeah, this is what your all the websites for the buyer. You can customize this, but this is what it looks like out of the gate. Again, the purpose is simply for the disposition, very simple: home, listing, contact. And then it shows you status of each listing that you have. So you can click on any one of them, and then it takes you to a landing page for that specific property that you have. You can upload pictures, videos, and then you can put asking price, bedroom, bathroom. Someone can go and make an offer. So it's linked directly back to each of the property that you have. So if someone clicked on, I mean, I have, I'm no longer accepting offer in this, and you can put your description, add your documents, pictures, and then someone can click on it and then view the pictures and videos that you have. So this would be for the disposition side that you have, and this website and these landing pages would be for the acquisition side that you have.
That's great. Hey, can you show or talk about metrics, especially specifically to the buyer's side, right? So if you're sharing this link out, or if you're posting it, or if you're emailing it out, or is there like custom links, so you can actually, can we actually tell that, we sent this out to John and John has viewed it, or the metrics on the back end of how many views it's had if you've mailed it out, or just posted it online somewhere?
You should be able to go into the back end of the WordPress and see how many views you've got into each of the pages that you have within the website. The purpose with this would be that, instead of like every time you have a property that you tell your buyers, is you standardize the process, centralize your disposition process, and tell your buyers to, hey, anytime you want to see what property I have, the status of each property, go to my website. It'll have real-time, up-to-date information on every single property that I have. And then they can go and make an offer, inquire, if you're doing open houses and any of that stuff, you can just manage all of that from here. And then as someone is clicking on it, I don't think it tracks on individual basis. I mean, it does. So when you send out a bulk email, you can see at individual level if they clicked on the link or not, right? So you can track to that level when I go into buyers and then email campaign. I can see this campaign that I sent out, how many recipients, how many were delivered, how many opened it, and how many people actually clicked on the link that I. So you would want to make sure you have link on that page, and then you can go on the back end of your WordPress and see how many people actually visited this specific, property that you have. So it'll give you data on that, how many visitors you had on this link. Yeah. But again, this is, this template is built out of the gate. So it's super simple to use. All you need is your own unique URL, and then you link your URL to REsimpli website and on the acquisition and disposition side, and then you can just start using it within the system.
And so that's not going to work with if you have a URL for the main website, you're going to have to get a separate URL, separate business name for the buyer side, right? So
so your acquisition disposition will need to be two separate URLs. So I have like max house buyer for my acquisition side. Disposition, we don't wholesale anything, but for this demo purposes, I have simply.land as my disposition website.
So it couldn't just be like like your landing pages are still under the domain
it would have to be a separate
house buyers thing,
URL.
so it's got to be different. Okay.
Correct. You would have to have a separate URL, because then there's other, sub pages that you get into, and then it just creates a little bit more complicated. And then for your branding purpose, you would want to keep that separate, just in my opinion. Just to keep that separate.
Different business. You're selling properties.
Yeah. And then let me see if I have a training on website. We did another on the disposition website. Let's see. I'll find it. If you email it to me, Sharad at REsimpli, then I'll find it and I'll send you the training that we have in our system. Demo. I don't think this one is it. So I'll send you that update, I think.
Thanks. And then do you have a training for the emailing list of buyers things too? Because I tried to go that route once and I didn't have a buyer number, so it wouldn't let me do a campaign for numbers. So I had to do that separately out of my own email.
You can do a campaign. If you have their cell phone number, then you can text them also if you wanted to.
Okay.
So then you can do an SMS campaign also. And then you can just,
but I think it wasn't letting me do it because I didn't have a number set up for I have
Yeah,
I
so
had two
once you have,
numbers, and those were both for the cold call campaigns, but I didn't have a number for buyers set up yet, so I
yeah,
couldn't
so
do it.
this would only allow you to do a bulk text from toll-free number just to bypass the A2P10 DLC.
Mhm.
So, we built it out so it doesn't use a local area code number. You use a toll-free number, which doesn't have the same restrictions that your local number has.
Okay.
Okay.
But we should, and I have a number for buyers currently, but
Here,
we
so
should
this is
still
the
be able
one.
to do
Yeah,
a campaign to via email to them even.
correct. You should be able to
Okay.
do by email, or I put a link on how to do bulk SMS. Rodney has a question. Please tell me again how to access the landing pages. Let me find it. So if once you go into the backend, I need to do a training on it. I know I was supposed to, but just completely. So when you go into the backend of your WordPress, you will go into the content and then click on landing pages and import landing pages. And then you'll have these 5 to select from. And then you can run different tracking numbers to each landing page just to track like how each of them is performing. So these are the 5 templates that we have. Really neat, simple, clean looking landing pages that you can use for your conversion. So if you go into content, landing page, and then you click on import landing template. Cool. And does REsimpli offer a website customization service? And if not, does anyone know of someone who does it? Yeah, Robert, I was just talking to someone about this. I think Jose. But if you email us, support@REsimpli, we can connect you with one. These are not REsimpli people. These are outside companies that can help you with customization of your REsimpli website. Yeah, so it could be Rodney. It could be Rodney. The question, if he submits a list of 400 leads to submit, it could be either the phone number is missing or they are the same duplicate numbers or duplicate addresses would be the reason for that. Thank you guys for being on the call. This was a great, fantastic call. Being an accountant, I always love talking about the KPIs because I realize, I notice in my business how much difference it makes to be able to track the KPIs correctly, knowing how much money I'm putting into marketing, how much money I'm making. So if you guys are not doing that, highly recommend that you start minimum marketing and your revenue number at a minimum level, and then you start getting some insight into what marketing is working and what's not working in your business. Cool. Hopefully you guys got value out of it. Will this be available? Yes, this will be available for replay. We put all our calls on help.resimpli.com. So I'm going to put this link and mastermind calls. So this is where all our calls are available after they're done. So I put this link in the chat also. It'll be available tomorrow or day after, right here. The last call, the last link, it should be available tomorrow for you guys to watch the recording. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being on the call. This was a fantastic call. Thank you, Rodney. Great questions. And I'll see you guys on the next week call. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you.